What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Top 10 Commander video. This time I would like to go over my picks for the 10 most versatile Commander options in the game. This is of course going to be a little bit more subjective. I think you can take most commanders and play with them in different ways. Not all of them are anchored to a specific strategy, so these 10 are going to be more of my favorite. What I look for in a versatile commander, it's a commander that not just other cards, how you build around it, but the card itself is very flexible, offering you a variety of abilities, maybe an incentive to explore other strategies because you have different abilities, that if you prioritize those in a different build, you're going to get something completely different out of that commander. So first we have number 10, Riku of Two Reflections. Originally released in the first Commander Precon set, this commander option is criminally underplayed because you have the ability, if you want to, you can go all out into one of these. You can just play nothing but creatures, and you're rewarded for doing so because everything you play you will be able to copy. I think going into this, people assume you have to do both. You really don't have to. If you want to play Spellslinger with Riku because you get to copy the instants and sorceries, you can go ahead and do that. Pretty much in 3 colors, you have a great Spellslinger commander for that reason. And the third option, of course, is to play some kind of blend where you're taking advantage of good creatures and good instants and sorceries. Great for ramp if you do that, because there are a lot of good green instants and sorceries that will let you ramp, and great creature ETBs. If you decide to copy them, you will get both of those triggers. And then number 9, we have Teyam, Luminous Enigma, kind of an unsung hero of the Commander 2020 Precon. Personally, I love Teyam because you have variety here in self-mill, you also have counters, and you can also take advantage of aristocrat strategies which tend to benefit from creatures dying and coming back. So you get a healthy mix, and also what's going to be brought up again on this list, it's the potential to really make a commander more competitive. That's something else that makes a commander versatile in my opinion. Is it more than just simply a good casual commander? And alternatively, if you wanted to, could you make this a good budget commander? I think Teyam satisfies a lot of that criterion. And at the same time, it's not overpowered because you're only really bringing back permanent cards, CMC3 or less. The introduction of the vigilance counters and just these ability counters from Ikoria helps it to stand out here too, so you are giving vigilance to a lot of your other creatures. And number 8, we have Muldrotha, the Grave Tide. Kind of a good stuff commander if that's how you choose to play around Muldrotha. I like Muldrotha because you have the flexibility in going with a land strategy if you choose to. Being able to play a land from your graveyard, although it doesn't give you extra land drops, that's still going to be pretty powerful. Like with Teyam, you can benefit off of good creatures that are entering the graveyard. You can constantly replay them, bring them back, things like Spore Frog or a Headache because of that. And there are of course combos and the potential for more competitive play. This is pretty much the ultimate graveyard commander. Doesn't really seem to matter what kind of strategy you're playing, it's going to synergize well. And it's beyond just creatures too, so take advantage of things like planeswalkers, enchantments, artifacts, permanent cards in general. Such a good commander. And then number 7, we have Morophon the Boundless. Quite possibly the most versatile commander option on this list if we're just talking about all the different ways that you can build around it. However, there's not really much outside of the tribal trick strategy. That's kind of what Morophon is known for. And you do have a couple different ways you can build. You could just go for some specific tribe and using Morophon to synergize with them. This is actually more commonly seen when Morophon is in one of the 99 in something like a Sliver deck. But as a commander, I think the most fun way to build around Morophon is just taking tribal tricks from other tribes. Since Morophon is a changeling, you're going to synergize with those cards no matter what. The cost reduction is nice if you're able to get it for a specific tribe, but I think it goes without saying a 5-color changeling is pretty flexible. And number 6, we have Teysa Orzhov Scion. A classic commander in my opinion, one of the first that I've played, and I loved playing with Teysa because you have a variety of things to synergize with. This is back around the original Ravnica block, where these legendaries took advantage of 2 different creature colors. So in Teysa's case, you have white creatures and black creatures, and for both of them you have 2 separate abilities. The first one is pretty much great removal, sacrifice 3 white creatures to exile a creature. And whenever a black creature you control is put into a graveyard from play, so when it dies, you put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying into play. Everything I said before about a lot of these cards on the list, you have the potential to make this a really strong commander deck, while also having a pretty good budget option as well. The abilities synergize with several different strategies. It's not really hard to find cards to fit into a Teysa deck. You have good aristocrat synergies, you also have good token synergies, and to me I think that's what makes this Teysa a little bit more versatile than the other one, Teysa Karlov, just because I think she's a little bit more involving. And then number 5, similarly, we have Prash, Sky Raider of Care. Prash is probably my all-time favorite commander, and that's no secret if you've been watching me for a long time. And the reason why is because Prash is incredibly versatile. May not seem like it at first, but on that cast trigger, you're pretty much guaranteed, unless someone stifles that trigger, to get that amount of kobolds equal to the amount of mana that you pay for Prash. And that keeps going up as the game goes on. So you have great token synergies right there. And probably the most underrated thing about Prash is that we have a free sack outlet here on a commander, which means that it is so easy to also synergize, like with Teyam, with aristocrat cards. And you don't have to pay any additional mana for that. And in doing so, you are giving Prash an extra power until end of turn. So if you keep doing that, you also have a Voltron option. So everything I just said about Teyam is true for Prash. Because you have that good sacrifice ability, you're going to benefit off of death triggers, you're going to benefit off of good combos. But with Prash in particular, you have 3 colors to choose from, and you have a great Voltron option, making Prash sort of a Swiss Army knife. And then number 4, we have Alila, Artful Provocateur. There are very few commanders where you can just take it and build a completely different deck around it. I mean, you could technically do that with other commanders, of course, you could do that with any commander, but because of the abilities here, you are able to do that and retain synergy. So other creatures you control with flying get +1 power, well that's Flying Tribal right there. Whenever you cast an artifact or an enchantment spell, you get a fairy. So any of those 3 you could build around exclusively with that strategy in mind. If you want more of a Flying Tribal deck, you can go that route. If you want a pure artifact deck, I think that's great too. Enchantments as well. Alila is just fantastic because you can combine 2 of these, you can prioritize 2 of them over the other one, and the commander is still going to have the synergy. So that's really what I was aiming for. Anyone can take any commander and build around it in a different way. Does the commander still synergize with that strategy though? Alila does. Number 3 is Yoggmoth, Thran Physician. When this card was originally spoiled, I said to myself, I don't think I've ever seen a black commander where there is just this much going on. You pay a life, you sacrifice another creature, that's great, already talked about that with Prash. Not having to pay mana to sacrifice is brilliant. But you also get to put a -1/-1 counter on a creature if you want to, and you will draw a card. And there's also another ability where you can pay 2 black and discard a card to proliferate. So there's a lot, just a lot going on here. And oh yeah, he has protection from humans, if you cared. So you can go the combo route, you can make this a very powerful commander deck if you want to. You could focus on aristocrats because you have another good sack outlet on a commander. You could focus on -1/-1 counters. There are a ton of ways you can benefit off of that. And you could also, if you wanted to, incorporate planeswalkers. Yoggmoth doesn't allow you other colors to work with. So being this versatile in only 1 color, I think is worth pointing out. Exceptionally strong as a commander, and you really can't go wrong. Number 2, we have Sise, Weatherlight Captain. Pretty much a toolbox commander. It's the benefit of having several things you can do, and with Sise you have a tutor kind of like the original one, but this time it's on an activated ability that doesn't require you to tap, so you can go off with this ability and just search up whatever problem solver you have. This is a commander where it's kind of important that you deal with her sooner than later, because if you leave her alone, the player is just going to accumulate a ton of legendary permanents. It's very overwhelming if you're able to tutor up some legendary creature. There are just a ton of ways that you can solve the problems that you're faced with. And what's good about that is that you're not really handcuffed to any specific strategy. Of course, you do have cards that work well with legendary permanents, and it's something that you think would be good in a commander game. That's pretty much the flavor of Sise. Ultimate freedom to build your deck. And then number 1, we have Kenrith, the Returned King. A quick shout out to the Fallen Golos. Would have certainly been on here, maybe top 2, but Kenrith is definitely, in my opinion, the best, the most versatile commander option, because you have a whopping 5 activated abilities, all of which are pretty solid. And with those 5 activated abilities, you have the flexibility in how you build around Kenrith. And like I said before, very flexible in how competitive you want this deck to be. It can be pretty casual, pretty budget friendly, but if you want to max out your budget, Kenrith is a pretty powerful commander. Anything that would synergize with any of these abilities, there you go. You have the ultimate mana sink commander that makes it easier for you to activate your creature abilities if you can just pay a red and give them haste. +1/+1 counters are great if you have anything like Persist. You can build a deck that takes advantage of Persist creatures. If you're playing a life gain deck, well, 3 mana, there you go, 5 life. There are a lot of cards that need you to gain a set amount of life in order to activate an ability. Card draw is never really a bad thing, and reanimation is brilliant. Overall, to me, that's what makes a commander versatile. the freedom and feeling like you can build a commander deck in a completely different way, and the commander itself is still going to synergize with what you've done. So anyway, those were my picks for the 10 most versatile commanders in the format. Let me know some of your favorite versatile commanders. As always, subscribe if you have not. It really does help the channel and I appreciate it. You guys take it easy. Void here signing off. I will see you all next time.